Hello, I'm Mario Toneguzzi, and I'm taking care of business. Joining me today is Paula Allen, Global Leader and Senior Vice President of Research and Total Wellbeing for LifeWorks. Thanks for joining us today, Paula.
Always a pleasure.
Well, some interesting stuff that came out today with the Mental Health Index. 24th straight month, which has been lower than the pre-pandemic benchmark. Just overall, Paula, does that surprise you that we're still there in terms of some of these mental health issues and we're not moving on?
And actually, not really, not at this point. The longer that we're in a situation like this, the more likely it is that we're actually in. And I know people have been using this word a lot, but a new normal. Like we've gone through a lot as a society, and we're still going through a lot of upheaval, a lot of uncertainty, and we have fallout happening right now. We have, international conflicts, we have recession, we have people trying to settle into this new world of work. But most significantly, the fact that we had been going through so much strain for 2 years says it's not going to immediately go back to where it was, not without some intentional investment.
All right, super. Well, I want to talk to you about a couple of the findings in the survey, and to be honest, a couple of them I relate to personally. Like this one, especially 28% found it challenging disconnecting after regular work hours.
Yeah.
Does that surprise you at all?
Not really, but it was also interesting to see the reasons why. And this is another risk factor that we have that actually started before the pandemic, that was accelerated with the pandemic. With everything positive, and I do believe it's a lot of positive that we have with the technology in our lives. We have flexibility, but the flip side of flexibility is lack of boundaries. So, being in a situation where you're feeling always on, we have a very ambitious culture. People strive, and sometimes that has negative consequences when we don't allow ourselves to recover enough. And over the pandemic, where a certain portion of the population has been working from home, and even those who haven't, many people have had increased responsibilities just because they're dealing with disruption, supply chain, customer issues. We've had a lot more work volume over the past while in many situations if you are working. And that is contributed to this as well.
All right. Also, 42% are feeling mentally and physically exhausted after their workday. Trust me, I know that one well.
Yeah, I think that would resonate with a lot of people for everything that we just spoke about, and both of the things that we just spoke about. The lack of separation and recovery. Because some people feel, well, I get a good night's sleep. Maybe I'm even sleeping a little bit more now than I used to before. And that's great. That's important. But we need more than that as human beings. We need variety in our lives. We need to experience different things and blocks of time. And when you're always thinking about work or available to work, then you really don't have that mind shift that gives you the rest. So change is as good as a rest sometimes. Mm-hmm. And the other thing is, again, the thing that we started the conversation with, the level of change and uncertainty. It's draining. We're paying attention to many more things. We're making more decisions. So lack of recovery and all this disruption, we're just emotionally exhausted. And that's what we're seeing.
Yeah. And it's kind of funny, right? Because I think one of the obstacles for many businesses over recent years in adopting a more flexible, more remote work environment has been that worry about productivity, right? And people, if you can't see you, you don't know what you're doing. Who knows? Mario might be sitting at home wearing pajamas, drinking beer, right? And rather than sitting at his computer working, right? And but it's quite the opposite, isn't it? Is that most people working from home or working remotely are actually working more than if they were in an office.
Yeah, and in most jobs, it's pretty obvious because you're working not to just work for work's sake. You're working to create an impact. You're working to produce something. You're working to facilitate something. So when you're not working, it shows.
Yeah.
And again, I think we've set the bar a little bit higher. I really do. Because remember way back when they said, well, when we have emails and when we have computers and things, everybody's going to have so much free time because work is easier. And we didn't really have that. What we had is that we had higher levels of expectation.
Yeah.
And I do think that early in the pandemic, we bled into starting a little earlier, working a little bit more through lunch, working a little bit later, and set a new expectation for ourselves. So just to keep up is really draining people at this point.
Yeah, exactly. I'm going to lop in the last the survey result, two of them, 27, because I think they're kind of connected. 27% were increasingly difficult to concentrate in their work, and 35% are increasingly difficulties being motivated. Why is that happening, you think?
Yeah, it's all connected to that emotional exhaustion. So, a lot of people call it burnout. So when you're working, when you're doing anything, not even just work, and you don't have that recovery, you have strain without recovery, your body revolts on you at a certain time. You feel exhausted. You're being told that you need to make a change when you feel exhausted. And when you're mentally exhausted, you just don't have the energy to concentrate, and you don't have the energy to be motivated. So it's not your intention. You still may love your job, want to do well, but you just don't have the energy. And I think that's part of the drive of this so-called great resignation, when people feel that they just can't move forward, they feel stuck and feel that they need to make a change. And if that change is, the decision that they make is to change the job, but the way they work isn't any different, then they're not going to feel any recovery.
Yeah, exactly. So, Paula, last question I have for you. So, in light of everything we've talked about, what are some tips or advice you would give people, in this environment of what they should be doing in terms of their, to alleviate some of the issues that a lot of this work stuff will lead to mental health problems?
Number one recommendation is don't think that it'll just resolve itself by itself. You need to do something different in order to get a different result. If you're feeling that emotional exhaustion, if you're feeling that inability to disconnect, if you're feeling that lack of motivation, that's information. That's information that something needs to be different.
Yeah.
And generally speaking, we need to bring more variety into our lives. We've had a very small world for the last little while. Hobbies, creative pursuits, activities that involve other people, because we get energy from good relationships. All of that is important. And I think we'd all be surprised to know how much that's been reduced in our lives. And the other is prioritization. It becomes very easy to say, I need to push forward. My grit and the fact that I can push forward says I'm resilient, but grit isn't resilience. That you'll burn out at a certain point. So making sure that you, even with your motivation and desire to do stuff, that you take care of your body, take care of your time, and take care of other people, because we only got one life.
Exactly. All right, super. As always, thanks very much, Paula, for sharing your insights on this.
Take care.
All right, super. That was Paula Allen, Global Leader and Senior Vice President of Research and Total Wellbeing for LifeWorks. I'm Mario Toneguzzi. This has been Taking Care of Business. Thanks for joining us today.